Alright, hey guys, this is Link here coming at you guys with a patch 5.3 analysis, and I'm just going to cover what I think about the patch notes, what I think Riot should do, what Riot should have potentially have done, and I'm just going to be talking about, well, the patch. So 5.3 came out today, or I guess yesterday, and I'll just go down, I guess, in a list of what I think. So 5.3 didn't really include that much. I thought they were going to include the new item, the AP item, but they didn't, which is kind of really strange to me. Like, they removed DFG and then they didn't have like a replacement for it. And that doesn't really make sense to me, because I feel like if you remove an item, especially one that has been in the game for so long, that they should already have like an item already ready, to replace it. So it kind of sucks that there's only two 120 AP items, which are, well, Rabadons and Zonios, right? So the fact that there's no DFG means that a lot of assassins got nerfed, and now we're seeing like these really weird mage assassins, kind of like Nidalee and Ari. They're not really like true assassins, though. AP assassins, if that makes sense. They said that they're gonna buff Vigar, Mordekaiser, and Cat. So we'll see what happens in the future. Though I think there's a lot of other heroes that deserve buffs that haven't been really like, I really haven't seen any play. For example, like Brand, Diana could get buffs. I think they like touched her in this patch, but they didn't really do that much. Another AP champion might be like Ziggs maybe. Like TF. I don't know. A lot of these champions that used to be really good aren't really played anymore. So we'll see. In any case, scrolling down, it looks like they buffed Sona, and this is probably because of the new DJ Sona that's coming out. So they're doing like these small number changes in order for people to notice her. And I think that a lot of these things, like, even though these changes aren't really that big, I kind of wish that Riot did more of these small changes. So when you read the patch notes, it kind of makes you go, hey, wow, this champion got touched. Maybe I should try and pick her up again. And you can do this really easily with like adding the addition of like new skins like DJ Sona, which is like the new legendary Sona skin. But I mean, I don't think you need to just use skins to do this. You can use just small adjustments of character hero stats, like changes, if that makes sense. So they buffed her at 80 by 2, which isn't really a big deal. It's kind of, well, I guess it helps trading and bottom lane skirmishes. The movement speed, if anything, is the biggest buff, and then the HP and health growth stat is kind of whatever. Her mana regen did get nerfed, and she really does have mana regen problems, but it just looks like they nerfed her early game, and then her mid to late game is gonna get buffed. So moving on, Ari got changed. So I think that the Q orb did cost a little too little mana for how much, like, for what it could do. I kind of wish that her Q movement speed was like, instead of added to her Q, it was added to her W. Overall, this is a really big nerf, because not only did they nerf the mana cost of her Q, she doesn't really have that much mana problems, but, well, I guess she does if you use Charm in addition to her combo, but that's besides the point. The biggest nerfs are the acquisition range of W and R, and it's basically 100 range, and 100 range is, well, that's really big, because that means that not only are you putting yourself in a more dangerous spot when you're going in for the kill, like, you can't kite around as easily anymore. It just makes you go in much more closer, and you have to be closer, which means that you can get pretty much caught by any CC and then you can just die instantly, which is Ari's biggest problem right now. And there's not really a good defensive item, and there's not really a good offensive item. Like, the way Ari plays is you have to go in and commit, and then you have to, it's like, if you're not strong enough, that means that, well, you're not going to be utilizing your biggest strength, which is your mobility to do damage, and like doing it very instantly. So overall, like, her W also got nerfed too, so that's really annoying, because I don't think Ari's damage should even get nerfed. Like, I think she's in a good spot in terms of damage wise. Like, the fact that they nerfed her range is already technically a damage nerf because now you're putting yourself more at risk. But who knows? Maybe the range won't be too noticeable. I think I'll definitely notice it, but we'll see. Zero is a big problem because uh, you just kind of like if you ever get caught in a bad position or like Azir has like really good vision control because you can just WQ and then you can just kill a ward from very far away in a very safe spot. Not only that, it kind of sucks because when there's three soldiers and not only do they pierce the target that you hit, you basically find yourself in a position where, well, you misplaced yourself, right? And if you're not really good at positioning, especially in the lower elo levels, it's really not fun to play versus, and it feels like there's no counterplay because the only way to counter something like that is to have higher range. And if you look at the champion list, there really isn't that many champions. There's only like Xerath, like Ziggs that like outrange such a champion. But even though I consider Azir kind of like a mid-range champion, kind of like Orianna, he's really hard to play versus if for example you're playing like I don't know like Ari and like Ari you go in and then you miss your skill shots. Well, now you're just kind of fucked, right? So I think the nerfs were kind of a reasonable like nerf. They nerfed his AD, which is kind of weird because Azir never uses his auto attacks that much. I guess you kind of do in the early laning phase, but once you're out of laning phase, you don't really do that much. Even like level 1, you start using your W, and your AD doesn't really affect your W. The Q got a really huge base damage here. It's 50 damage off from his final level, which is like, I don't know, that's a lot. So it's kind of strange for Riot to nerf it by so much. And then they also nerfed his range. If anything, like I would have liked Azir seeing a range nerf, kind of like Ari, instead of nerfing his damage output. Because if you nerf his range, that means that you also have to walk up and put yourself in a scary position. But I guess like they're trying to keep the concept of, well, Azir sends his soldiers out and then he does damage with those soldiers. But yeah. I think the biggest problem with Azir and the reason why he became so popular was that, well, he had so many bugs and like glitches where sometimes you'll WEQ combo and then like, well, you won't like travel all the way, or like you'll send a Q to like a certain area but then your soldier won't go all the way there. So with all those like glitches like fixed, especially like your ulti working as intended, now you can see why he's getting nerfed. But yeah. The range nerf that's a pretty big nerf, but yeah. So we'll see if he's good. If anything, this makes his winning matchups a lot harder, as well as it'll make his losing matchups like even worse, if that makes sense. But he still has like some decent matchups if you ever get fed on her or fed on him. So Diana got changed passive. Now you can see the number of stacks and the remaining duration, which is kind of like a clarity change. The thing about this is I don't really like changes like this when Riot does this. It's basically saying that, hey, the game is hard. I'm going to make it easier for you to play. And I really don't like that because I think like you should be able to learn timing like stuff like this by just playing the hero a lot and learning to play it. Like once you play that hero maybe like 50 times or so, you'll be able to understand and like memorize or just get a feel of like her passive cooldown. And I feel like that's more like intuitive and it just feels more rewarding when you play that champion more. And I don't like it when like for example like I haven't played that champion in a long time and then it's like, hey, now I know exactly how many stacks I have and the duration or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of like how I perceive the game. And I noticed that Riot does this a lot, and I don't really like how they do it. The orbs will now rotate at double the speed, which means that if you're ever on top of someone, that means that, well, you're probably going to pop your shield faster. I'm not sure if this is a buff or a nerf, because sometimes I found myself in scenarios where I only like to use my W on like, one or two like people or one or two creeps and then have like the other one to help last it, if that makes sense. Like say you find yourself on your tower, instead of using all three on one creep, I would just want to use like one of the circles on one of the creeps, and then use the second one on the second creep, and then use your third circle on the third creep, if that makes sense. So we'll see how it affects his gameplay. I don't know. If anything, it's probably like a buff in terms of getting more damage out when you're on top of someone. So Fiddlesticks Drain Tether got nerfed. It's kind of really random how they like nerf that range, but sure. No complaints here, I guess. So Gnar got nerfed, and they want Gnar to be inconsistent in terms of like how he plays the champion, which is like super weird because I don't know. It's gonna make the more inconsistent a champion is, the more the less likely that you'll see him in competitive play. So the fact that he's more tired for 15 seconds and the Mega Gnar duration is only 15 seconds, it basically means that in standoff fights, for example at Dragon in competitive play, you see a Gnar at he's Mega, right? He just turned Mega. Okay, now I don't have to wait 20 seconds anymore. All I have to do is wait 15 seconds. And then after that point, it's like, well, now he's going to be a mini Gnar for another 15 seconds, and then he's going to have to build up his rage all over again, which is extremely hard because in a standoff situation, well, there's no creeps for you to hit. And even if you hit the creeps, that means that if you're hitting the creeps like mid lane or bottom lane, that means that there's a chance that they're going to get the objective done, or they're just going to poke you out in the process. So the fact that the Mega Gnar duration went down, I really don't like it because I thought the Mega Gnar duration as is was already like short, and it's such a small window where you have to like time it perfectly. So if anything, the Gnar, I don't know, the Gnar rage it's super weird because like the problem in competitive play is also like, say you're split pushing with Gnar and you're about to get in an objective team fight, like you can't hard push anymore sometimes because, well, you want to make sure that you're about to just hit Mega. You don't want to turn into Mega. You want to be at like that 90% in mini Gnar like form. So already as is, I thought it was hard to just manage it. So I'm not sure. We'll see. One of the biggest problems that I hate about just like in general, whenever Riot like releases a new patch, is that there's a lot of bugs that tend to come out, and like a lot of things change that you don't realize or that haven't been documented, and that's kind of what I hate the most. For example, like they said that this is a bug, right? There was another change. I think like Fizz's Q, like you can like flash it now. There was another change where Fizz's ulti you can't QSS it. The patch before in Italy is like Spear rooted like the jungle monsters, so it basically made her king in the jungle. But then I don't know. There's all these like small changes that get changed in the game, and then it just feels so weird when you play the game because like you're not sure what's right anymore. You're not sure what's OP. You're not sure if it's gonna get changed, and I don't know. I really hate that. Gragas basically slows for more. 60% slow is pretty decent. 40% slow at level 1 is pretty decent. But I don't really think it's a big deal. I mean, it's gonna slow at 90% at like full, but if anything, it just makes follow-up ganks a lot better. But I don't think Gragas is really that great right now, unless you're really good on him. So Kassadin got nerfed by 10 damage. I don't think that's gonna change anything. Every winning matchup that Kassadin has, well, he's gonna still win, right? And that's like his biggest problem, is that his kit is so strong, and the fact that once you get ahead, you're able to make so many plays and just move around the map and just do a lot of different things. So if anything, we're still going to be seeing Kassadin as like that first pick or like perma-ban status. And a lot of people just hate playing versus Kassadin in general just because he's so mobile, and he's one of the best scaling AP like mini assassins in the game. Katarina attacks faster. So another pet peeve that I have about patch notes is that they say that attack frame is sped up slightly, but I don't know. There's like I'm not trying to figure out examples. There's a lot of times when there's like these changes, right? They say that they changed something. For example, I think they said like they changed like Baron or Dragon damage like 2 patches ago or something, but they don't include the specifics. And I wish that they included the specifics in the patch notes. like if the attack frame is sped up slightly, I kind of wish they, you know, did a read more of some sort where it says, yeah, we changed this animation to X, Y animation. Because I mean, if you're changing a number, right? I mean, if you're changing a champion, you have to be changing a number of some kind, which means that they should be able to show it. So that's just kind of something that I wish that they did. So Katarina finishes her attack faster, which is, well, it's whatever. This is a really big buff on Kennen. Now it's going to hit everyone in Slicing Maelstrom, and that's really important because before Kennen, you ulti in, and sometimes like there's a chance where, how do I explain? If I'm right, it's still going to hit people who have been afflicted by it. So if I'm right as well, like you don't have to hit them with like your ulti charge first. As long as you're in it, your W will hit everyone, and that's really big because your W is a big source of your damage. So not only that, it also means that people will get stunned faster because instead of waiting for you to press W you after your ulti hits them, as soon as you go into the team fight, you press W in your range, which means that if you have rallies, you can instantly slow people, and then your ulti is going to tick, and when your ulti ticks now, it's going to stun them, instead of before where your ulti ticks on everyone, and then you press W, which stuns them. So basically, it just means that Kennen's team fighting got a lot stronger, and the stuns are going to come out faster, which is really big. Personally, I don't think that they should buff Kennen's team fight, because I think his team fight is really too strong. If anything, they should just buff his which is kind of weird, right? Because if his team fight is already too strong and you try to buff his laning, then there's a problem, right? But I don't know. Kennen's one of those champions where he's really hard to balance because not only is he ranged, he's also like a ridiculous team fighter. So yeah. And like, so for example, like so what I was talking about earlier, well, this is a prime example of how like these small changes completely change the champion, right? Where so if you guys haven't played Nidalee's cooldowns, like if you were in Cougar form and then you use takedown, right, and you turn back to range form and then you speared someone, when you go back into Cougar form, the act of changing into Cougar form would reset all of your cooldowns in Cougar form, which is super weird. And it shouldn't happen like that, but it made it happen. And for 2 patches, like Nidalee was like the most broken champion ever. And like I hate that because not only does it change the champion, it's I don't know, like even though they say it's no power change, it was a huge power change because that means that you could get takedown off like instantly. Like you can get 2 takedowns off. So I don't know. For whatever reason, whenever there's a patch, there's a lot of shit that just happens where it breaks the game, and it completely confuses me. I remember there was a time when Fizz's ulti, when you use it on Zed could ulti that, but now, like there was some patch happened randomly, and there was no documented change about it, and then Fizz ulti would just go through Zed ulti. Like you can't Zed ulti and dodge like Fizz's ulti anymore, which is completely weird and doesn't make sense. Same with like Elisa's Rappel. There was like a patch randomly, and then you used to be able to rappel tower shots, and all of a sudden you couldn't. So I don't know what the deal about that is. So they buff TF. It's not really a big thing. Again, like I said before about how Riot is trying to make the game easier and they're using on the way ping. I don't think that's right. Like I feel like if you're gonna cascade and you have ping, I think it's up to the player to use the on the way ping himself, right? Like why can't you just press ulti and then press on the way ping, right? I don't know. I don't like this. That's just me. It just sometimes you don't want to use your ping, or sometimes you don't want to clog up the minimap. I don't know, but Riot wants to do that, so I guess they want to do that. Like I don't think Riot should make the game much more like easier for the team, if any, like to coordinate stuff. It should be up to players to coordinate the ganks themselves, and the better players will be able to react accordingly, and the better players will be more aware of what's happening around the map. So in return, it rewards more people. So yeah. So Varus got a 20 missile width increase, which is a pretty big deal. I don't know if you guys played in Italy, but that spear nerf was really noticeable, and this is pretty much the same thing. So Zara has range indicators on her. Yeah, I don't know. Again, they're adding like more range and AoE like distances, which I don't think is right because I think it's up to um, like the player to play Zyra a lot and then figure out those things. I don't know. It's stuff like this that is kind of weird and doesn't really make sense to see. Like, what is the point of adding like sweet range indicators? Like, why do you have to do that? Why don't you just, why make the game easier when I think they should be making it harder and much more fun? This was a bug a long time ago, or it's been around for a while. Sivir's shield, you can spell shield it, and if you spell shield it, if you spell shield like Corki's Q and auto at the same time, you'll block all sources of damage. So they removed that, which is a pretty big. It's not a big nerf, but it was a pretty big, like it was useful in skirmishes in the bottom lane 2v2. And then lastly, texture balance, blah blah blah, not really a big deal. Moving on to items, Farside Orb drops a 60-second visible Farside Orb. So I like that they did this. They're basically buffing trinkets, and they needed to do this because the red one, the sweeper was way too good. Blue one now drops a 60-second visible ward. That's pretty decent, but I think this is only the upgraded one, right? I'm not sure. If it's not just the upgraded one, then that's okay. But we'll see. Like, I can't tell because I think this is the upgraded, the upgraded trinket. But either way, I don't think the orb is like the orb is like whatever. The ward is like decent. The real question is whether or not when you drop the ward, like the Farside orb, whether or not it's invisible or visible instantly. Because if it's invisible instantly, and well, there's someone like you spot someone, right? Well, like what if that person just instantly kills the ward? Like that doesn't make sense. It's like take the money, take my money, basically. If it's invisible, for example, then it's a different story. And I wish like Riot will put it in these patch notes. Like, is the ward invisible or is it visible? And then Farside Orb still provides clear vision, attack champions, blah blah. Okay. Greater Stealth Totem. This is a really big upgrade, and that's because it's basically like a mini Sightstone, right? So that means that mid laners can now run Greater Stealth Totem, and basically, when I was trying this out on live, like right now, which is only one charge, I ran into the problem where, well, I'm running it down a lot, but I feel like I don't want to place my ward here because that's just weird. But so now having like 2 charges is really nice because that means that I can just place it anywhere. And I think once I'm level 9, I'm going to be looking to buy this a lot. And I don't know, it's kind of weird because the amount of wards that you can now place with this is going to be huge. And I'm not sure if Sweeper is going to be, ideal. It might just be better to buy the Greater Stealth Totem and then just spam buy pinks, or maybe at the very least have one Greater Stealth Totem. So we'll see. It might be useful for example, maybe the jungler to get this item. Or maybe the mid laner should buy it, and then the jungler can buy Sightstone and buy Sweeper. And what's gonna be really important is that Wraiths, like finding the Wraiths are even more important now because the number of wards will probably go up in an average game. And this is basically gonna help people who tend to not buy wards. It's gonna be like, alright, well, I just based and I could have bought a green ward, but instead, nope, I'm not gonna. But if you have this Greater Stealth Totem upgrade, well, you don't have to buy wards anymore, pretty much. So we'll see. This might be too big of a buff. I kind of wish that they added a cooldown, like a longer cooldown, sort of making it like 70 or 80 seconds. And this is a small item buff on Spectre's Cowl. So, and this is kind of needed because just in general, bruisers don't have a really good way to deal with AP top laners. They have like Hex Drinker and Spectre's Cowl, and that's pretty much it. Baron now cannot be walked through even with effects like Ghost or Fizz's Nimble Fighter, which grant this ability. Okay. So yeah, again, this bug kind of happened where inhibitors weren't taking full damage from, like, say you were an AP champion, and it made basically pushing really hard. Again, like, I'm not sure how stuff like this happens, right? Like, this is like a huge game changing mechanic. It means that, like, mages, say you win a team fight and you have 2 mages on your team that survive, and that's it. Now you can actually end the game with those mages. I actually ran into a scenario yesterday where, well, I was like a 6-item AP carry, and I was literally hitting the inhibitor for 50 damage or something like that, and it took forever to kill it. Whereas if I was the AD carry, then I could have ended the game. So I don't know. Glad to see that this is fixed. Ignite, doing damage and stopping recall. This is good. They finally fixed this after like 4 years or something like that. So hooray. And the in-game options, these are just whatever. You can just adjust keyboard and mouse camera scroll speeds. It just means that if you want to be more specific about how you play your game, that's going to be really nice. And I'm not sure how this is going to work. Adjust the camera lock offset. We'll see. I gotta try that out. And then Nemesis draft is whatever. Just another game mode. More league tooltips. And yep, that's pretty much it. So things I'm looking more forward to is, I guess if I was to look at the champion list right now, let me see. I feel like Cassio should get nerfed a little bit. At least her mana cost got nerfed, but not sure. They didn't really touch AD Fizz in this patch. I think they want to see more of him. I'm surprised that they didn't include, like, Fizz here, like, cause Fizz has a major bug fix, or like a problem right now. So we'll see. Or at the very least, like, you know, at the bottom they should like include like what bugs are existing right now, so that people, I guess they don't want to do that because they don't want people to abuse it, but I don't know. They didn't touch Callista, which is kind of surprising. Bunk's in a good spot. They touched Natalie, it's just fine. Yeah, I guess there's still a lot of champions that I think just kind of need some touch-ups of some kind. So we'll see. But I guess that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed my analysis. There wasn't really much in this patch, so hopefully in the future I can do something more about it. Alright, that's it. Bye-bye.